no signal on there.
You never seem to get it in here.
What's that mean?
Oh, it's just because my computer went to sleep.
Okay,
Okay, yeah, it's on.
okay,
So we go back.
okay.
Have you guys met?
I think I've met.
My wife don't.
Oh, yeah, I think we've met before.
RDC president again.
All right.
Lucky guy. He's also running for council.
I saw that. Good luck. I hope you can get on there.
I invited Jennifer Feeney, the one that's gonna get appointed, so we'll see if she shows up.
Yeah.
I know Don and Jeff are not coming. Hopefully a couple other people show up.
Somebody, right?
Yeah, she doesn't count.
Yeah, aw. You do too, count. Don't let it say that.
Bill's zooming in, so if you wanna grab the end of it.
forget to start that meeting.
First, oh, you mean the,
Zoom meeting. Did you, like, let it in?
I don't know.
Well, you could do it now. If you want.
Hello?
Hey, and what's going on? No,
Maybe it's down.
I'm just here for later. But look, I brought it. No, I'm not staying for your whole goat rodeo, girl.
Hey,
Um,
please,
but look
please,
at
don't give her a sneak preview.
Oh, don't let that.
Yes, you are.
So remember, the county got community of the year. So we decided we would make little replicas for each of the municipalities because everybody should have an award because it's for everyone.
We'll hang it here on the.
I love it.
And so
Perfect. That'd be perfect.
pretty crystal looking. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna add pretty man, Mother May I have water and me. And then I'm booking out of town. You can home, I've been at my office since 7:30, you know. So,
I wish we could do that.
I know, well.
I'm all for the 9 a.m. meeting.
Let's cross our fingers that,
Are you gonna try to do that?
I think we should say that.
I can change this morning again, I get the council meeting.
No, I think the night, like,
Or change it to 6 instead of 7 or something.
yeah.
If we at least, I mean, they're not gonna go for a morning thing, but we at least change it to.
Hey, how are you?
Well, what do you think about that? You
Guys,
can
be here.
Yeah.
Called and tired and I can't.
Doesn't bother, but, you know, he's got an hour-ish, hour and a half drive home, you know, and it's so late, especially in the winter, it's dark at 6.
I heard it was a little sketch coming in this morning. Bill told me you didn't come in till 10.
I didn't come in till 10, and I thought I left early enough for the city to get out.
You probably left at 7, got here at 10.
Yeah.
Basically.
It took me an additional like 15, 20 minutes to get to work call than it usually does. There were a couple, 300 was very busy. I was like, oh, this is total like, this is good.
The first 2 exits I tried to get out of the neighborhood had an accident from cop.
Oh my God.
I thought this was special.
This is special, I can't.
Special alert.
Special order, that's our
You
word.
mean,
Which reaches a level of just frustration.
people that have had practice to driving and stuff and that's by now.
I'll get. Thank you.
Is Amazon here, I mean.
Well, you gotta be able to hear.
Hey, it worked.
Yeah.
600 instead of 6,000.
There you go.
Did you know birds make noise?
He doesn't really want to.
Oh.
Forgot all about that.
Did you call it? Well, that's a happy fun thing to do because the baby's here again.
It's overwhelming.
This week.
The background noise. I don't know how you do it. It really is overwhelming.
Auditory noises a lot.
One of the first instructions they had on this is wear them all the time and reprogram your
To
brain
get used to
to
it.
get used to the noise. Yeah.
My karate instructor is supposed to wear hearing aids and doesn't,
Oh.
not in class. So if you have to have a private conversation with him, that's not gonna happen. We were at a clinic, we were done, he's sitting in the parent area for this school, and I'm asking him a question and it's, huh? So I repeated the question again, it's like, I'm sorry, what? So I said it a third time, and he still didn't hear me, and I finally lost it and said, would you put the damn hearing aids in? And then there was a lady sitting behind me, and she burst out laughing, and I looked at her and said, and I'm not even married to him.
I'm just over it.
Well, yeah, and considering that he's much higher ranked than me, being that disrespectful, I was like, I didn't get in trouble.
Yeah, I figured it out here. I did it.
Yeah, I walk in the house and I just,
Everybody's
I'm wearing them.
Go.
Yeah. She's so used.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, fair. We're close, sir.
was like, you're not taking these away.
No, no, no.
I'm sending them away.
I don't need them. I get I test drive them for you.
Yeah, he gets to test on Sunday when I make them. Well, I made some for Bill and his wife, so.
And I thank you for the tree.
Oh, you're welcome. He got some brownies too, actually, when I got there, they both just had brownies.
You told me.
Yeah,
You didn't get all of them.
yeah. I told him, I said, you eat them in the morning like you would on Monday morning with them.
I did. So some was then.
Yeah.
Alan said he wasn't coming.
Yeah, that's not either.
Yeah.
The mark for the
Election.
yeah, they're doing board appointments down there now.
There you go. He was big. Yeah.
Hello, come on in.
Hello.
You're fine, come on in, Jennifer.
Well, she's been appointed free, right?
She will be, but not until afternoon.
Wait.
If you guys had met in February, yes, you would have been appointed. We'll start the meeting and then I'll introduce you. We're missing a member.
Someone just stopped in the driveway.
Sorry?
Someone just pulled up in the
Oh, okay,
parking lot.
there it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it was in class.
You wait till 6:31.
Oh.
Hey, quorum.
Great. He was actually watching the tree. He can't hold his job. Well, we gotta understand. We're just going to All right. 6:30, we'll call the meeting to order. Approval of minutes. Motion to approve the minutes. Motion and second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. We have no claims to approve. And we started real estate and then.
Okay, so, lot 7, we're back to lot 7 again. So, Chris Story is the, gentleman that bought the lot and is building the, structure out there, and so you guys approved a, economic development agreement with them back in 27 of 24. You updated it in 11/24, they asked for an extension for because at the back end, when they get their certificate of occupancy, they get their second grant, on the purchase price. Because of some technical difficulties and issues getting permits from the petroleum company that has the pipe underground, there was a lot of delays in their construction. They got those all ironed out finally, but they're behind on their construction timeline. So they're asking for a second extension out to June. So that's their ask. If you guys are willing to give them an extension again, it's spelled out in the agreement that their attorney Robert Kraft sent me, and I forwarded to you guys. So the project extension is out June 15th to 2026 is their ask. So, he was gonna be here, but he took ill, so I told him I'd represent for them, but if you guys would like to speak in person, he's welcome to come in another meeting. So we're just kind of tight on time because he's running up against the original completion date, which is in April, so.
And according to his letters, everything's out of his control.
Yeah, it was pretty much not their fault, it was just a lot of things that they had to work through that, to get construction done.
Regardless of the reason, they're backing out.
Right.
The improvements that they've done already are worth more than.
Yeah, definitely, yeah, they've already got most of the building standing there, they just need a few more weeks to get it complete, so. If you guys are willing to approve the amendment, I'm also gonna present it to the council for approval. They're recommending that simply because there's tax abatement on it as well. So council's gonna get this as well. If you guys sign off on it, then we'll have the council review it right after this.
Yeah, I read his list of problems. They were trouble. Entertain a motion. Make a motion that we accept their request to extend the abatement. Is that right?
It's amendment to the economic development agreement to extend their, completion date.
Motion second, all in favor, say aye. Motion passed. Any new business?
Yeah,
Okay, discussion.
go ahead, and date me that, please.
I already have it.
Well, okay, so if you can sign a copy, then we'll have to have that copy available for council.
A couple of questions. So the old elementary school and the new part of that, that's the same group, correct? I mean, I know it is people, but it's a separate LLC,
Bridgestone Development,
same.
for the, you're talking the urban apartments?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bridgestone is the first part, they're doing the second part, correct?
So did we do an abatement on them for elementary school?
Yes.
Why did they put it in here?
Why did we not?
Yeah.
Right. It's just out, it's like squeezed between the Syracuse tip and the Hollywood tip, so. The cautionary tale tip is, when you do them, you capture, yes, a lot of money, but it's also sequestered to a very narrow spot. You can only spend it in that area or adjacent areas that benefit the tip zone.
Right.
And so you just have to be careful about confining all of your general fund dollars into little islands, because you can't spend those dollars anywhere else in town. And there's only, we really don't have a lot of infrastructure tied to the elementary school that we need to take care of.
No, but if you build the tip in between the tips that are existing, that's a much bigger area, including Main Street, which could certainly use some stuff.
So, I mean, if, you know, if that's something you wanna try to do prior to the new construction, that would be, I don't think you can do it fast enough. I don't know, that would be, my assumption is the last time because they were gonna break ground this year, and I don't know if you can get a tip established up. You might be able to extend the Syracuse tip over there, that might be a lot easier. If you just redefine the geographical boundaries of this one that runs up and down and just reach over and grab that would probably be the easier route.
It doesn't matter to me, I mean, given there's an abatement on the old elementary school, how many more years are left on that?
They're 3 years in, probably two or three.
So if you get 25 on the rest of it, it'd be worse. I mean, the AV on this could be, what, 10 million, 12 million?
I would assume.
So. Something I thought about this week when I looked at it. Now, maybe you might know this, or maybe Don does, but on the property tax record, is that tax that's paid? Does the abatement affect that tax?
The tip tax?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
Does the abatement on the property tax, or that's on real property?
On property, yeah, on property.
So is that reflected, when they show online, is that the full tax bill and then the abatement comes off of that, or is that the tax bill
I believe that's
after the abatement?
No, I believe what you're seeing is there before tax, and then the abatement.
The abatement comes off after they do the assessment.
Because that thing's valued at $3 million, and their taxes are about $3,000 more than my house, and I'm homesteaded. So I'm kind of wondering how they're getting such a great.
I would have to ask, I'd have to confirm that with the auditor, I don't know the exact answer to that. That's a good question.
We're looking at it. Either I want to read
I
it,
can
or I
ask
want
the
to
auditor.
say more.
I can ask the auditor, or I can ask him.
Fair.
He would know right on top of his head, so. That's a good question, I guess I never thought of that.
Do you have the economic impact area
Yeah.
around your tip?
Yeah, we could look at spending, that's what I'm saying, we could take the Syracuse tip, which runs the 13 corridor, and just, in theory, stretch it over over, assuming it's legal, to stretch over Grass, Washington Street. So right now, it basically stops about halfway over there.
Well, the other side of it is if you get that much improvement in the surrounding areas, you would expect those property values to go up and then hopefully get improved down the road, so then you're gonna get fresh up AD anyway.
Right.
So we might as well capture it rather than just let it sit there and get divvied up further.
Right. Yep.
That's just my
No,
thought.
that's a good question.
Any other new business?
I just wanted to introduce Jennifer, asked her to attend if she was able. She's gonna be up for appointment tonight, by Cindy, when council is in session. I told her if you get time to come and watch and meet everybody.
Nice to meet you all. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Do you have any background in development or anything like that?
I have produced very large events all over the world. So the biggest one globally would be I oversaw the launch of the educational launch of the UAE. I also oversaw the Pepsi Super Bowl in Times Square and the launch of Forever 21. So I have a lot of knowledge with producing big events and all of the layers that go into it, like AP, budget, zoning, permits, security, then marketing, group dynamics. I work for New York Times right now and oversee all of their events and sponsorships, and I brought in $11 million worth of sponsorships last year. So I also have fundraising experience.
Cool. You live in Cindy's neighborhood or where do you live in town?
I grew up in Goshen. I graduated from IU, and I have been living here and I go to New York about once a month. For, oh my goodness, I've been coming back here forever. Like I've been coming to the lake since the mid-80s, when my family moved here. And I have a house on Eli Lilly, and my parents live on the same street as Cindy in the Visa.
What is your address?
7220 Eli Lilly. So I'm across the street from Tom Kelly.
That's in town.
Well, yeah, we vetted this, your address was Medusa Street.
Yeah, that's my
That's your legal address.
my legal address is Medusa Street.
Okay.
That's what's on my driver's license.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we made sure that we were covering that, because she has a couple residents, but her
Yeah, I think
identified address is Medusa Street.
Medusa Street. I pay all my Indiana taxes. I'm not a resident of New York. I'm a resident of Indiana. Yeah. Yeah. And thankfully my job lets me work here. So
I'll go around. So this is Nathan Shear, he's one of the member of the RDC, he's also on the town council.
nice to meet you.
David Rosenberry is on, he's the RDC president. And Mark Mattier is one of our members. Another member, we have two members who are not here tonight. Virginia's our treasurer.
Hi.
Larry Siegel, he's one of our town council members.
Hello.
Mark Price, he's our public works director.
Hi.
Tom Wilkinson, she's with TEDCO, the Economic Development Center.
Nice to meet you. I also, when I lived in New York full time, I was the president of the community garden, which is, it's weirdly the most expensive community garden in the country. Because it's a big block that will always be a community garden. It will never be sold. So I was the co-president of that for several years, and still am involved from afar because my good friends. That's part of it. So I have experience with group dynamics as it relates to communities and town.
Great.
Yeah, that's great talk to them. Thank you. I'm excited. I'm very excited to meet you all. And I was telling David and Cindy, I love the lake. Like I've grown up here my whole life, and I always come back here. And so to be able to bring my skill set to this community and support you all is what I hope to do.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
We're just talking about you.
Any old business?
You know, new one life, do you?
Quickly, and then they gotta go to my
Get some things off the printer. Got one I'd like to try. A friend of mine has had maintenance at a plating shop, and they put these in their parking lot a couple of years ago. And they've had one fail, but just one. And it's taken the same weather as this one. The solar panels are directional. Lots of light, 18,000 watts, I believe, and you can put a constant on. And dust it on. They're relatively inexpensive. The next step up is $1,000, and then 2,000, 3,000 each. Lots of light. They do put on a lot of light.
Did you get one? Have you gotten one?
No. No, the weather hasn't been conducive to even think about putting one up. So it just kind of slid it over on my desk. Well, I got,
If they put on, if they have enough capacity to, light through the night or winter.
they are enhanced batteries. So, the plating shop is in a very high crime area. I used to work there.
Oh, okay.
They've gotten better since you.
Lighting is important.
Yeah, you're doing
okay. For that amount of money, I don't see where trying would hurt.
Long time no see, Jeff.
How are you doing?
How are you doing? Okay.
I mean, I would just, have Mark, but I can proceed with that.
And then all the ones that don't work, is good, how are you? You drive it?
Hang with which one? Put them in a park?
A motion to take out. All white.
I need to run back to my office and pull something off the ground.
This summer, I was really go back to so, no, I go back like.
No, I mean, must be part of the family name.
I would
I looked
say,
them up on LinkedIn.
I go back like
Oh.
once every other month.
I did not. I had a busy day.
You're back from Florida.
Yes, I have no idea. We went through all that stuff, and you and I went.
Oh,
Whatever Tuesday.
yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm very excited. I was gonna say my director, and then I did that.
I got you.
And then I got two other things in my so, I'll follow me over on the public.
Your wife.
They come here.
What makes my problem with you?
Good question. I don't know if they know I moved there. I think that the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem.
Yeah.
Pretty lost control.
Are they from here? Okay.
Hello, I'm good. How are you? I did. I bring a whole coffee with me. Yeah.
Yeah. You can only get it by ferry. Yeah. Likewise.
conversation.
Okay, wait, but if-
You already needed it?
Okay.
So all you needed?
Thank you.
Contractor.
I got my friend. Yeah, just what, kind of what I was.
Right, yeah, no, I know.
Well, really?
Let's do it. Good run, I hope you're tired now.
What's that? You know, the drone outside right now.
I don't know what happened.
Whatever, and I didn't realize you just straight ripped his own jersey.
Even George, 6:45 or
Yeah.
You want one?
Keep it, yeah.
Step over you again. Hello, Inside the new construction place to,
Probably. Rock.
No, I can't read it.
It
doesn't glare to me.
got inside that.
I know, I'm like,
We had a fire going on North Road, and Bruce Creek went to it, and I called him on there a couple times, and he was coming through really on the bank, and I think it was something that he said, or radio to that, civil confirmed.
What's happening? Are we on? How are you doing? Good. Yeah, ready to go. Good.
Been to the gym, got all worked up, yeah.
You want this? Ready?
What are you doing?
Back row.
hello, Chief. I'm doing well.
The other person. Hey, David.
Yes, sir.
So where do I find the town council meeting on TV tonight?
You are on. We'll call you in a little bit.
Okay. Put it on the.
Okay.
Looks like the round's in. Long days, good days.
I know. Thought about bringing my own body to go get right off.
We're gonna call the meeting to order. Stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. Next on the agenda are public comments from the floor. Agenda items only, 2 minutes per speaker. 10 minutes. Would you let us know who you are?
David Rosenberry, I live in town at the current project. I wish to speak about the, Petco South Shore Town of Syracuse MOU that is on the agenda for tonight. Running city services to South Shore without annexation is a terrible idea. Even if the developer pays for the initial installation of the infrastructure, having the, owners out there or the tenants out there simply paying for the water usage does not help pay for, to any repairs or upgrades to the town's water system if and when it does fail, and will fail at some point. Therefore, it would be left to the burden of the taxpayers or elected to serve to pay for those repairs and stuff instead of the ones that were actually receiving the services. As president of the Syracuse Redevelopment Commission, and I realize that South Shore is in the county tip, not in the Syracuse tip, but if it were, I would not be in favor of supporting running of city services to South Shore without annexation. The RV park was required to be annexed to get city services because somehow people think that running it out to South Shore without annexation is a good idea, or are we simply doing it as a favor to a town council member? How's that fair to the RV park that they were made to be annexed, but they're not? Why would anyone ever want to become part of town if you're willing just to extend services to wherever and without them being annexed? Are you gonna run city sewer to Brook Point without them being annexed? If you do this, why would you not do that? What is your plans for town expansion? I feel that if you pass this, you pretty much stop the expansion in that corridor south of town. Because why would they want to be annexed if they're already receiving the services? What would it take to reverse your decision if you so desire to do so, if you approve this for tonight? How many people need to come to the council meeting, the next council meeting, to let you know that they feel it's a bad idea? And it would be my request that you do not approve that for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave, do you feel like that's the general consensus of your neighborhood?
Most definitely.
Do you feel like everything that you said was accurate?
I do.
Do you realize that the RV park was not required to be annexed to get water to the city?
They voluntarily annexed, but it was.
What was the condition?
He said in the council meeting that he was not opposed to being annexed, and based on that, Bill made the motion.
I'm pretty sure in the past that this project has had the same thing. I don't hear it either. So I just wanna make sure that we're looking at everything open-minded and objectively. Because that statement that they had to be annexed is not true. You can go back.
They did not, well, I agree, they voluntarily.
And they were awarded that before annexation was even possible.
No, it was talked about at that same meeting, I asked him.
No, it was the same meeting I was at.
Yeah, and we voted to do it without annexation.
So,
MOU, which is just simply an understanding, which is not a binding agreement. Do you understand that is what we're talking about tonight?
Yes, it's an understanding between all three parties involved. But I feel if you approve this tonight, then that pretty much leaves the door open to have. I mean, I know they're willing to pay for it, but what about after it's installed? Who's responsible for it?
I mean, but it simply leaves the door open, but it's not an agreement. As I
The door's
understand.
open without an MOU.
Pardon?
I said the door is open for conversation without an MOU.
Well, the door's open, I think. What I think.
Why would we need that MOU if the door's already open?
I think that is the door open. I mean, as
When
I
we get to that
understand.
on the agenda, then we'll talk about that.
Yeah, it's public comment right now.
Yeah. Does anybody else? Go ahead.
It's Matt Goodnight. It's always difficult to speak about an agenda item before hearing all of the details. So many of my thoughts and comments, we don't know the details of the memorandum of understanding. We don't know the costs and things like that. So it's difficult for us out here to speak either for or against without knowing the exact details. But what we can speak for is a concern for the community and for our children and the taxpayers of the future, and what might possibly be any costs that the town would be agreeing to. I had a great opportunity to, learn about the wastewater works as well as, the other water parts. And it was interesting to see the map of the town and all of the current mains and how there's so many different sizes that really need to be upgraded within our current town limits before looking at expansion areas. And then it also, with an engineering report, which is going to hopefully be part of it, would there need to be additional facilities such as another water tower to really supply the pressure that the fire department is going to require us or ask for us to have in case of a severe working fire in that area. So with that, I just wanted to say I'd love to learn more about it even before I had my comments tonight. Thank you.
Frank, go ahead.
Frank Levinson, I'm on the board of KEDCO, so I just want to preface that before the comments here. I think there's a really key section of this MOU that I'm reading here, and it's section number 5, which is non-binding intent. And that is that as this is going to go forward here, there needs to be a formal development agreement before any infrastructure gets put in the ground. And I think what this MOU symbolizes is some skin in the game from the town of Syracuse, acknowledging that we need housing, and KEDCO saying we want to help you figure out how to make housing a reality, and that progress is messy, and I get it. I've done it in Warsaw with development and the companies that we have there with townhomes and industrial, and water is essential in order to getting some of those services met where we need housing in the community. We need it for schools and expansion and supporting enrollment. We need it for Hollywood and other employers in the area here. And I think formalizing an agreement that says we're going to look at that to try and figure out a way forward, and then we're going to come with what we think the potential solutions are in the form of a development agreement. That makes all the sense in the world to me. So I'm in support of moving with that.
Yeah, sorry, Greg at Syracuse North Shore. So I guess for that MOU, my biggest question is the binding and non-binding part. There is an exemption in the non-binding statements that anything agreed upon in the MOU is part of the binding. The other is for the town to withdraw, or any party to withdraw. It requires all three to agree to withdraw from the MOU. I don't think it's wise for the town or anybody to really enter an agreement and not have the ability to withdraw based upon all of the information that Matt said was unknown at this point. So I'd be very hesitant to sign an MOU without the opportunity to withdraw independently once we have all the information.
We're gonna move on. Thank you for all your comments. We're gonna move on to approval of minutes for the January meeting because the February meeting was canceled.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from January 2026.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes for the second. All in favor?
I have to abstain, I was not there at that meeting.
We'll move on to the approval of claims.
I move to approve claim number 194 through 296.
I have a motion to approve the claims 194 to 296. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Next on the agenda, I'm going to make an appointment to the RDC vacancy, and Jennifer Feeney is with us tonight, and I've had the opportunity to get to know her a little bit. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but she grew up in Goshen. She's been coming up to the Wawasee area for like 40 years, so we're moving away.
A long time.
She lives over on Medusa Street, and she had contacted David and myself that, she was interested. She has all kinds of background in marketing and budgeting and event strategies. And, she said she'd like to bring her experience back here to Syracuse and help us become a better place to be. So I would like to appoint Jennifer to the RDC.
One with me.
We vote on that. No, okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
Don't blame me, you called me.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome.
I'm very excited.
Next on the agenda, we have the LWGCPA. David, you want to talk about this a little bit?
Yeah, so this goes towards the SRF loan that we are applying for, to help us pay for the Lake Street Water Project. These are simply an agreement to hire Jim Higgins as a firm to handle the bonds that we would be taking out with the SRF. This is just an agreement to bring him on as an advisor.
Can you remind me how much the bond is going to be?
You got that right here.
That will be $5,856,000. And what's the payment on that?
That can be orchestrated to be
35-year, can't remember the rates right now. I don't know how much it's gonna be per year.
Does it fit into our current rate or do we want to?
Yeah, current rate.
And
Because we paid off that other. Correct.
How confident are we in the lending waiver?
and then our council on every other bond that buys the here is really done.
Or everybody's very confident, you know?
Continues with the wonderful things for us.
I'll move to approve engagement letter for municipal advisory services. With LWG.
I have a motion to approve the advisory engagement letter with LWG. Very second, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Next, we have a tax abatement request from Rich Stone and RV.
No, this is.
Oh, this is it.
Different one.
Are we here on Rich? I didn't look at the agenda.
Yes,
Rich
No.
started that. You should be familiar with Rich Stone. Rich Stone was the developer converting the old high school into apartments, quite successfully, say. Their next project was taking the Bullercraft buildings and upgrading them to current standards. And when you drive by those buildings, you see the improvements, quite obvious. And when you drive by during working hours, you see how many employees are actually at that location. Because the intent of that development was to create jobs by leasing the space that had been rehabilitated to smaller industries that did not have their own manufacturing location. And from what I can see, it's worked out quite well. We all know that the school itself and those apartments have worked out quite well. Well, the school development presented, pardon my voice, I just came out of pneumonia. The school development created another opportunity, and that was to develop an economic development target area that wasn't established at the time that school was converted. Typically, when you're looking at economic revitalization areas, you're not looking at potential for residential development. You've got a different layer that has to be added. Entire school property that had been acquired by Ridgestone was designated by you at the time the high school application was made as an economic development target area. That allows residential development and abatement for residential development in that target area. What Ridgestone is proposing is a 42-unit apartment complex, 3 buildings, each 8,640 square feet, a total of 86 parking spaces serve those buildings. That is a variance from what's required, 4 spaces per unit by the ordinance. The Board of Zoning Appeals has already approved that variance. And the Board of Zoning Appeals has also approved a multifamily variance in the residential district. The site plan is what I handed to you. It fits hand in glove with the development of the old school. The parking areas tie together, traffic patterns tie together. The water, sewer, and storm sewer are available and can be maximized by this development. We're looking at enhancing users of the city water and city sewer system at no additional expense to the town, because we have infrastructure that's either already in place or will be put in place by the developer. The request that the developer is making is a 10-year tax abatement in accordance with the schedule. And I think David gave you each a copy of the proposed declaratory resolution. The cost of the project will be approximately $3.5 million. Jobs created, we don't create a lot of jobs, but we create 3, at a total annual salary of $125,000. We're looking at market rate rental costs. We're looking at construction that begins August 1 of 26 and finishes August 1 of 28. So it's a project that moves through quickly. The advantages to the community are this is an opportunity to attract residential expansion, housing expansion, in a method that isn't usually available to the community, that by providing some incentive in the form of tax abatement. We know we have a high demand. We need to provide for that additional housing demand. We're expanding. The old school conversion is a good indication of performance and how quickly you can fill up that residential availability. Besides, Ridgestone has that experience with the old school and with Bullercraft to show you that they know what they're doing. They know how to put the project together. They know how to qualify and bring in the applicants. Like I said, it's a rare opportunity. We all know that as every employer in the community is expanding, housing becomes the most crucial part of that expansion. If they don't have a place for employees to live, employees will go someplace where they do have a place to live, closer to where they're working. This gives us that opportunity to do that when normally it might not be available. No new streets, no stormwater, no sewer or sanitary sewer or water. And we can support our school enrollment, which we all know is suffering at the most. So this is probably the best opportunity you'll see in a long time from a residential housing standpoint. And again, even if there were 100% abatement in the first year, that decreases every year after that, increasing the revenue that becomes available to every taxing entity in the community. And we're looking for a unique and special project here to add those 42 apartment units.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Didn't we get the first, unit, 10 years abatement? 100% abatement?
You mean the high school, the old high school? Yes.
Yeah. So this is basically the same.
It would be identical, abatement schedule as was approved for the high school.
Okay, thank you.
We're talking the elementary school? Yeah. Obviously, I go back further.
And I do.
No, it's not 100%. It's first year, 90% second year. So it's not, okay, yeah, so it's not 100% abatement.
No, I understand.
So in recent history, I think 23K24, this outfit was delinquent on property tax with an abatement. I mean, would we expect to see that happen in the future?
I would not have expected it to happen before.
Yeah, me either.
And I, you know, if it was an oversight, I would assume. I haven't seen any indication that there's any problem. But from far as I can tell, they pay their bills when they're due. There's always the question, especially in the first year of tax abatement, what is it you're supposed to be doing? And if they happen to miss one by a day, technically, that moves forward with taxation, and then you have to back up. And I don't know whether that happened, although I know there was some confusion with the first year they would actually be available to file.
Do we have any idea of, I mean, obviously here we're adding heads and beds, but we're giving a property tax abatement. What is, given SB1 and the direction things are going, how does that shape out?
That's a magic question, there's no answer to. The way it's moving, heads and beds are more important than property taxes. So the more residents you have, in theory, the higher our income, or the town's income might be. We know where property taxes are at, that's not gonna change. They've set a new level, and that's where they're going to be. The income tax portion is still up for debate. Everything is remaining the same currently through 2028. They pushed the start date for new income tax laws to 2029 for further debate in upcoming legislative sessions. So we really don't know what it's going to look like beyond 28. So your guess is as mine on what the future of the income looks like. But the tax rolls have been diminished permanently. Those are not going to change.
So with the expansions that we've heard, Hollywood will just make a dent in their need for housing to fulfill future growth.
What do you think?
I mean, 40 units is better than what we have today. We have about, today we have 1,200 people reporting up through the Syracuse location. We're at the peak of our season. I ran some numbers before I came. About 450 of those drive more than 30 minutes from here.
Do you have any idea how many of those are outside the county?
A majority of those would be outside the county. There's going to be some from Southern California County that would be within 30 minutes. But you draw a fair amount from Elkhart County, Noble County, a little bit from,
Whitley?
Well, Noble County, a little bit from Whitley. Reed goes far as Allen County, but then, over in the Bremen area, Marshall. So pretty much every county that we border, we're pulling from.
I got at least 4 residences on Main Street, North Main Street. When I put a prevent sign in the front yard, no one from Hollywood ever applied. And I mean, everybody drives past those signs to and from work. You know, of all the houses in this area I have one Hollywood employee. And so, I mean, what I know from my tenants, and I've been doing this almost 15 years or so, is that a lot of them don't necessarily want to live. They don't mind commuting. And so, I mean, some don't mind. I mean, ideally as an employer, I wanted to live close, right? But I mean, I have one spouse out of all those houses that works at Hollywood. And I don't get calls from Hollywood employees. So I think one question I have, it would be beneficial, I mean, is there someone at Hollywood I can talk to when I have something available?
I can give you my information. I work as part of the HR team.
Yeah.
And we could definitely, we've got information we can put out. I mean, with Rabbit Ridge, we have a fair amount of employees that utilize, their development there currently today, in their apartments.
Rabbit Ridge.
The old
pool. The old pool, sorry, yeah. With,
Yeah, I'm sure there are. I mean, I've sent a lot of people over there that I'm not gonna rent to. Within, I mean, the last 3 dogs, and I don't stuff like that. I just find it interesting with Hollywood right there and wanting, you know, everybody from Hollywood to live close and thinking they want to. I have one spouse that works in Hollywood. I was surprised. I thought I'd be full Hollywood, but I'm not, you know. So, I mean, just something to know. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind having your information. Sure, if I have something to open up, you know, because maybe it would help somebody. Do you have a comment or?
I don't on that.
Steve, are we looking for the declaratory resolution then tonight?
Yes, that's what we're looking for to get the ball rolling. Tonight would be the preliminary finding that it's already been determined to be a development target area. You're just approving the SB 1 form at this point. We'll schedule a public hearing for next month for a confirmatory resolution. And at that point, you would be entitled to hear any public comment in regard to the application.
Do we have a resolution number?
It's on there.
Second. Yeah.
No, the most current one, only the one that I have.
Jake, can you repeat this?
It is.
Jake, can you repeat this?
Can I butt in here for a minute?
The resolution 2006-4.
2026?
Yes, 2006. Yeah.
I move to approve resolution. Well, hang on, I had a question. Is there like, spoke with you Friday afternoon, we haven't had any knowledge about this, I have to review it. Have you had a chance to review it?
Yeah. That was not the one that I thought, you and I did talk about one Friday afternoon, but no, I had not seen this one. Steve, I assume it's identical to the one you did.
It is
4 years
identical.
ago.
There had been a reference to exhibit, A and B.
Right.
And it wasn't in the original declaration, so I added a sentence saying that shown as exhibit A.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm not concerned about the form of this resolution. The next one that you have to pass, that's the one that has significant impact financially.
Right.
If you pass this and don't pass the next one, nothing happens.
Right.
Bill has something.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, I wanted to know what their capacity is right now, percentage wise, and also if they have other applicants waiting to get into the new area.
The current apartments are full, and they have a waiting list, for people to get in.
Okay. And how many?
I don't know the length of the list.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And the ones they have available, you can look on their website and they'll show you. It shows exactly which apartments might be available right now. And most of them it talks about getting on the waiting list.
No.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. So it was, we need
2026-04, and move to approve the declaratory resolution of this ordinance.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. See you next month.
You don't have to.
At my age.
I'll just plan on it.
You better.
Next on the agenda, we have the Story Real Estate EDA extension. David, are you gonna?
I'll just make a motion that we allow that.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I don't think there's any question there, rather than, construction was delayed a little bit, I get it. You know, I'll make a motion that we allow that.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second for the Story Real Estate EDA extension. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next on the agenda we have Kedco and South Shore and.
This is the second topic here, discussed, since I got interest in South Shore property, I'll use myself in the meeting and let you know.
Well, good evening. Thank you for hearing from us. First of all, I want to, before we get into the MOU, on behalf of Ketco, and the community at large, earlier last year, end of the year, we were awarded as a community and a county the Community of the Year Award through the Indiana State Chamber. So that was unique. It's never been awarded to an entire county before. Typically it's awarded to a municipality or city. So we decided that every one of our municipalities should have a replica of this award so they can display it in their town hall or wherever they see fit. Because we want everybody to realize this is an entire county award. It isn't just one area, one entity, it was our whole county as a whole. So this is just to you for doing this in office. And then secondly, obviously we're here to talk about the MOU for the South Shore development. You have before you the MOU that was presented. Again, this is just a document kind of allowing us to say yes their community development agreement. This allows the developer to go forward with their exploratory and, informational process so they can work on a development agreement that would come back to the town. I have Bert here with me from Collins Equity Group. He is, representing the potential developer for this site. He can answer any questions for you.
My name is Burt Richardson, BURKERICHESON, and I'm in-house counsel for Collins Equity Group, a real estate developer, that we work with South Shore. And then happy to answer any questions there might be. I don't want to, at this kind of portion of the meeting, this is kind of a city issue, but happy to answer the questions you might have in terms of what we're thinking about in terms of potential development and those types of things.
Is there like a 5-minute shorthand?
Sure. Well, I can try to give you a little bit of a rundown. So, Collins Equity Group is a real estate developer. Alan and Chris Collins have kind of worked together for the past 50 years, out of Plymouth, and developed several properties around northern Indiana as far south as Elwood. And they've really, over the last 20 or 30 years, focused in on a multifaceted housing development for rural towns. That really helps to maximize housing opportunities in a rural area at an affordable rate. And then multifaceted means 4 different styles of housing. So one is single-family housing, freestanding, looks like a neighborhood that you're familiar with. Traditional apartments that are 3 stories tall. Then patio flat apartments, which are apartments that are all connected on 1 story, that are now 2 bedroom, 2 bath with a 1-car garage, about 1,300 square feet. And then a senior style building, which has an internal corridor access for this kind of traditionally for seniors. Somewhat looks like an assisted living type environment, but no services are offered for the residents from the property management side. It's more, we have referrals that we make to services. So a person, an elderly person could live in there for $1,100 a month in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment with a sliding glass door and patio, and then be able to hire food and cleaning services and only have $1,800 a month in expenses as opposed to $4,500 or $5,000 or $8,000 in expenses for a fully assisted living facility that's similar in shape and size. So, with all of that, all those 4 products, and there could be, sometimes we put duplexes in like we did in Peru, just kind of fitting whatever the property kind of allows and designates as the best use of the property. And all of those properties, we do what's called build, hold, and maintain. So a lot of times you'll see residential developers come in, they'll build the facility, build it as fast as possible, as cheap as possible, fill it up with residents as fast as possible, and then sell it off to some property investment company. Then the company is gone, and they're off to the next project, and the community's left with a project that quickly deteriorates because it wasn't built with high quality materials and built to last. So our group builds, holds, and maintains. So Alan and Chris have always developed for equity and long-term vision and cash flow over a long period of time. So what they do is build it. If they're going to hold and maintain and own the project for 20, 30, 40 years, they build with high quality materials. We come in and we make sure everything stays nice. We're always inspecting every unit as it turns over. We're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars every year to replace roofs, repave parking lots, new sidewalks, put in remediation anywhere it might be, replace siding, replace windows, all those things that come up. It only benefits us to use high quality products to begin with, because we'll have to replace it, but even when they eventually wear down, we come back in and replace with high quality materials again.
The question I would have, which apparently the 3 candidates have brought up, is what happens in the future with our infrastructure failing or needing to be repaired or replaced? Is there something that you agree to or get involved with that would help us with that?
Well, I can tell you that Alan and Chris have always been helpful with communities that have even off-site infrastructure projects that need to be completed. For instance, in Culver, we're working on a project now that requires the town of Culver had to annex some property south and required to extend water and sewer down to a property. It had already been pre-annexed to the development. when we came in and started our development, we agreed to, annexation, voluntary annexation, and then we extended the water and sewer down at no extra cost to the town. We had about an $800,000 expense that they needed to come up with somehow. Because our project fit in this area, we extended the water and sewer down through our own excavation company, and provided material and labor and everything that was required, and extended it around the corner. It benefited my clients for sure, but it also took that burden off of the town. Now my client we have our own excavation company and do all of our own work. We're far too busy to start taking on municipal projects as well. So we wouldn't start doing municipal projects around town, but if there's something that we can do to help with this project through our efficiencies, we're happy to do that. Part of, like for instance, in the culvert job, we had a ready grant. It was $1.3 million ready grant. And so we had to use that on infrastructure for development. And so what we decided to do was narrow the scope of that ready grant project down to just water and sewer for phase one. And so we had $1.3 million of ready grant to go towards that. It was ready one, so it had to be publicly bid. So we put it out to public bid. We did help design it and everything, but all the bid documents went out to everybody exactly the same. Riley was the only other company to bid on the excavation project. They came in and bid $3.2 million for the project that we had laid out for water and sewer. Our bid, including profit and straight line bid that Alan and the team felt was reasonable, came in at 1.32. So our bid was almost $2 million less than a commercial company. And the reason for that is not because a commercial company is trying to screw over the town or take money out or some underhanded way, but the independent excavation company doesn't have a project after the development, after their job. They only make money on the job that they're doing. Whereas my client has the project to look towards. So he doesn't have to make all of his money on day one. He can take less of a cut on day one and extend out that profit over a period of time, 20, 30, 40 years. And so that way we can get the project done at a much lower cost and there's still a profit margin to be made through equity.
I understand as a private individual, if you were doing that, there wouldn't have to be the usual bidding, and it's likely to be a lot cheaper infrastructure costs. We did that some time ago with one of our subdivisions. But I guess the question really becomes one of, okay, it's in, it's done, you develop all this area, and now you've got, I would say, 500 individuals or residential and apartments and whatever else. What do we do when it comes to repair? How does the townsfolk, citizens, residents, keep from paying for the costs that happen because of your development?
Right.
And I think too, like right now, the way that we do it in town is we use a lot of tax dollars. We just put $500,000 of tax dollars into refurbishing 2 water towers. But it's paid for by the taxpayers inside the town of Syracuse. Now anybody that's out of town has no ability to pay the tax dollars. The tax law doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
When we live in town, we still pay county tax, but if it's in county, there's no tax revenue.
Yeah.
I know the state of Indiana did a law several years ago that doesn't allow municipalities to charge impact fees for those kind of things. And so, let's just say 90% of the users are in town, 10% are out of town. When we have a $300,000 return we have to make out of town, it's paid for 90% by the people who live in town with those tax dollars. Because our rates don't cover that. The biggest part of our water plant is paid for with tax revenue. So, we just paid off a bond, $1.2 million, with the tax revenue. And so,
and that's where,
I think that expand what Paul's saying, is there any possible way that the town could be compensated for that? I don't know the state law. I know Elkhart, City of Elkhart won't extend utilities out of town without annexation because of that. And I know Napanee, a lot of communities won't do it. This is out of town. Is there a way that you're aware of that we can do that? And my second question is, you do a lot of rural development. Do you do any with wells?
He has an answer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do, yeah, so, one question would be, I spoke with my client, he has no objection to voluntary annexation, whenever that comes up. So, and again, it's the design model is a build, hold, and maintain, so he's gonna be here for, or the family is going to be here, we've already got succession all lined up, so for the next however many years, 50 years, 100 years, they'll be there owning the project. So whenever it comes up as an opportunity for annexation, he's happy to voluntarily do an annexation. Whenever we develop a project, we take and develop everything according to the standards of the municipality where we are. So here, that would be Tazewell County. So whatever the road standards are, the water standards, everything that's required for the specs, it would be designed out that way. It'd be monitored by an engineer that verifies this is the plan we say we'll build, that's what we have built, and then at the end, we do dedication of all of those facilities to whichever municipality it is. So here, it would be a county road, technically, so the county would be responsible for caring for all the water, sewer, storm, sidewalk, roads, sometimes electrical, all those types of things, depending upon the code. So here, we would look to develop all of the infrastructure and then donate it to whichever municipality, so we're the city or the county. And so then it becomes the responsibility of that entity to care for that product moving forward. So if that helps to answer who would pay for it if there were some issue.
We would.
Well, there would be a county road. So if the road requires.
We're talking about water.
Yeah. So the only thing I think that might be an issue is the water. If there was an issue with water that came up, then there may be a question there. But oftentimes for our developments, we show benefits to rural counties or rural cities and towns. What's the financial benefit of having a project come in? Because a large part of our deal is work on TIF dollars. So using that tax increment funding to help pay for infrastructure, which oftentimes pays for a portion of, but not nearly all of, the infrastructure requirements. So, like,
In this case, it's in the county too.
correct.
Yeah, it can't, since it's not a town, it can't be in a town.
Right, right. But so we would do that analysis to say, if we use these TIF dollars and it goes to fund this project, what's the benefit to the county giving us, in a way, giving us those tax dollars? And I know that's how you see it. My client sees it a little bit differently. But what's the benefit? What does the town get for having this development? When we did the research, based upon each individual city has their own rate. When we did the project in Rochester, it was about $5 million worth of utility rates over a 25-year period of time. So I don't know what their costs are, but $5 million over 25 years added to revenue for the water and sewer branches of the Rochester town, I think is quite a lot.
I have no question about that. I mean, we need this. I would want this. And I would think maybe with the candidates and the rest of us, the question would be, and with an MOU, I think it's premature to talk about it, but at some point we want to have some sort of agreement that included, however you would do that, the infrastructure breakdown costs in the future that would be relevant to that development would need to be paid by you and not by our mere 3,000 people that are citizens and taxpayers. So I think that's probably our biggest issue.
And that's something that we can always look at as well. My client is always very diligent in making sure that all the agreements as we work through are not overly restrictive in one method over another. So as to allow the community to continue to negotiate and find what the best option is. So, rather than trying to nail everything down at the beginning, let's keep things open so we can find unique ways to negotiate and find different ways to make deals so that it works for everybody. My client is always trying to figure out a way to earn his income over 30 years as opposed to take it all out in year 2 and then go to King 2. That's not his thing.
And maybe you said this, but do you have a time frame for development?
Yeah, so that's not oftentimes my side of the deal here, but I know that they've looked at trying to, if we can get everything in line and get everything, agreements going We have our engineers, March, already pressed on understanding that this is a project that we're looking at. And if we can get, in a perfect world, we could start moving dirt as soon as November. And start excavating and getting stuff ready to start construction.
What do you think the infrastructure, the water, I mean, you said you would be paying for that. When would that get out that far?
That's a question for engineers and going through the study. I couldn't at this time exactly say when that might be. As I stated, we're very busy as it is now. We may have a third party come in and did the job to extend the water out there. How we pay for that, might be counties involved in that. So we did make a slight adjustment to the MOU to say, rather than just for sure the developer's gonna pay for it, there are some other opportunities that municipalities can apply for certain ways to pay for things that are much more advantageous. So rather than just say, we're gonna pay, my client will pay for it, it's more to say, we'll negotiate how that all gets worked out as we move through the process. And maybe that's the county. Maybe the county just pays cash. Maybe, we gotta figure out what, the one major question is this MOU is meant to assist with, and I believe Mr. Rigby could help us with this. The statute, their own ordinance requires us to have certain things and agreements in place so that we can move forward with the step of finding out how much it's gonna cost. So, we gotta decide to go to the grocery store before we decide how much we're gonna spend, right? So, we gotta make the first choice first, the second choice second, the third choice third. And so here we're just.
Can I interrupt here?
Yeah.
We're basically here to see whether or not we want to sign this MOU, MOU. Rather than go through the whole development stage. It's gonna be a long, long meeting here tonight. So I think we need to remember that. Do we want to go with the memorandum or do we not?
Yeah.
Well, the question I then have with Mark and David would be, there is, and maybe engineering too, is it seems that whatever this water report is would allow for the development of this, and the town would have the capacity to supply the water to them.
We do have the capacity to provide water.
And do you have any concerns about that?
As far as capacity, no. We would be tapping
To the south of the town or the front?
we would be tapping a low pressure area in town. So that would have to be remediated as part of that.
What does that mean, low pressure in town? I mean, it's throughout the town.
It's called the Wawasee Bowl areas where we would have to tap that water main to feed out to that development. That's a notoriously low pressure area of town. So we would have to expand water mains from a higher pressure, higher size main to that point, or a booster station, or, engineering would have to get involved. We'd have to see how many units. There's a lot of information that needs to be compiled for that.
Yeah.
But capacity wise, we definitely do that. Thanks.
Yeah, as a plant.
And I believe that what this would do is this MOU simply, just as you stated, lets us know the grocery store is open if we're gonna go to the grocery store. Then we're gonna go and make a plan about what are we gonna buy at the grocery store. So that development that they'll work on, that'll be all the engineering, the cost, how that's broken down, all of those things will get studied, but they need this MOU that says, yes, the store is open. If you can bring it to us, if you can do it in a financially respectful way, if you can give us a breakdown in the development that works for us as well, then we'll sign that development agreement. This simply opens the store. That's it. And we know you have capacity to be done.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Larry, bring up the point of the plant capacity, and then Mark mentioned the south side, and I think you're leaning on the south portion of the tie-in. So, kind of the first, second, third stages of, in your prior agreements, cost sharing on making those improvements to provide the ability to serve. Is that a customary item for you?
Yeah, as we go through the development process, we put all the chips on the table, and then we kind of move them around to figure out what works for everybody. For instance, at Centennial Crossing in Plymouth. We didn't have residential TIF, like single-family TIF at that time, and Plymouth had tax fees or about $400,000. Everything that costs money ends up going towards the cost of a final apartment or a house. So we try to limit those costs as much as we can, and that's why we own our own hardware store, we own our own lumber company, we get as much in-house as we can, we're very vertically integrated. We do everything we can on our side to limit costs. They have these tax fees, and we like to work with towns and say, look, we're providing material, we're doing the work, and we're doing everything. Do we have to, and then we have to pay a tax fee on top of that. And that can get, expensive and kind of difficult, in that arrangement. Plus it adds cost to all the units. So we'll ask towns oftentimes to waive those. Well, they also, Centennial had to put in a lift station. And so the town agreed, hey, we'll put in the lift station if you'll pay the tax fee. Or if you put the lift station into the TIF, then we'll waive the tax fee. But we found through an analysis that we couldn't include that $400,000 for the lift station into the TIF. But it was maneuvering stuff back and forth to find a way to make it work. And there's just a number of times that we've worked through those things. In Peru, we did a brownfield project, and there was all kinds of remediation that had to be done. And the town said, well, we'll pay for this if you do this. And, we figured out a way, to make it all work. So there's no one development that's a cookie cutter, like it's all exactly the same. But all of our excavation crews, are certified, and we do all of our own water and sewer taps, we do all that stuff but for in Warsaw, because of Indiana American Water. We can put it in the, pressure mains, all that kind of stuff. The crew's ready to do that and work in whatever capacity, however we can work that out. If at the end of the day, we're really working to try and bring in a home to sell in a brand new development with an irrigated lawn at $295,000 to $375,000. We can't do that if we pay for every single thing and on top of, cover all these expenses for the town and deliver that.
Example of some of the developments that you've done that are not in town, that are outside of the town limits.
Almost.
Because I'd like to talk to them to see how they manage those pieces.
I would say that almost every development that we've done started outside of city limits and was annexed in. Now, so they're currently inside town limits. So we haven't necessarily done one in the county outside of town limits. But we've always, voluntarily annexed into the town. So saying we would do that here is not a change from our traditional development model.
There's not currently a way to annex them without legislation, is it?
No.
Currently, no. However, once the development is built out, there is a potential with what's on the books now, once their AV reaches a certain level. However, there's also time between now and then. So as long as we have in the development agreement that they're willing, annexation, once that opportunity presents itself, that trigger could be pulled. So it's important to remember that. Again, it's important to remember this is just simply allowing them to begin their due diligence, saying, yes, there's water available, we can now do due diligence on the property. No development agreement has been constructed or signed. That is all part of what will be worked out at the table. And in those conversations, currently the county will be involved in that as well, as they will be the road owners. They currently have that tip. So they have ownership and financial responsibility in this as well. So
there's something about developing the whole property at South Shore or part of it.
Really what we're looking at now is the area that goes, it's directly west of the clubhouse and a little bit north and then all the way south down to the property that was currently or most recently transitioned over to the youth center. So what we're looking at is probably about 45 acres for 2 phases. Right now, the portion on the northern side is more hilly and a little bit more difficult to develop.
Of all that, you guys will maintain ownership of it, or some of this will be sold off to private owners?
Well, there are certain homes that will be sold off to a fee simple owner within a condominium regime.
Yeah. So I mean, what happens with assessed valuation? If the more players that are assessed valuation gets split up with annexation. And so they wouldn't be able to say, hey, we'll voluntarily annex if you have a bunch of other people that would want it.
There's a portion of the development would be within the condominium regime. And so that condominium regime,
Privately owned.
well, is privately owned by the condominium regime itself. And so that condominium board would have to vote for annexation.
One of your companies that would do it, would do the county, and hopefully they would go along with it. I mean, when it comes to annexation, that's what happens, you know, I mean, when it gets split up like that.
Yeah.
I mean, like if Southport came in today and said, hey, we have all these assessed valuations, we have all the lots, then, I mean, somebody would have to have more than 50% of the lot in valuation. I don't know, you have to have like 70% or whatever the numbers are today, but not more than 50% of the remonstrators. But I mean, as it gets split up and those decisions are changed and the condo board looks at it and says that our property taxes are gonna double when we annex into town, the ones that, we have condos that in town right now that aren't in town. Their garages are in town, but they're not because they have all the services and they don't want their property taxes to double. And so, I mean, when you talk about assessed valuation, it has to be done when.
It's not the entire property, Larry, it's a very small portion.
Yeah.
So he can enlighten you a little bit, and just let him talk.
There's also,
I think we're starting to go into what the agreement might ultimately be.
yeah.
And right now, it seems to me that we're in the discovery process, if you will. That's what the MOU is, I think. And, I would make a motion to, approve, Cindy signing the agreement for the town of the MOU with TechCo and the various parties.
We have a motion on the floor to sign the MOU with the town of Syracuse, the TechCo, and South Shore. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed?
Yeah, I'm not convinced it's a good idea, and, so I'm going to oppose it. You know, one of my reservations is that we don't, why is TechCo here? We don't even have an agreement with TechCo, who does TechCo represent here?
TechCo represents every part of this county, including Syracuse, regardless of whether there's an agreement. Our job is to represent
And
this.
so why do we want to give TechCo authority in terms of this MOU between effective upon execution of all parties, which will remain in effect until the earlier of A, execution of the formal development agreement approved by the town, or B, termination by mutual written agreement of the parties, which includes TechCo. I mean, why do we want TechCo in the town agreement?
It's already passed.
I understand. I'm just saying what my objections are, what my questions are.
Next on the agenda is ordinance 2026-01, additional appropriations. That's David or Virginia? Neither.
So this additional appropriation request is, for professional services under the town manager's budget. And this is to cover ongoing costs for, Commonwealth services on the Huntington Street water project, and closing out the CCMD application. We're anticipating having SRF funds available, earlier than they did, so we had to expand the gap until those funds do become available to cover the services from, Commonwealth.
I move to approve ordinance 2026-01.
There's a, Paul made a, we have second. Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
We'll move on to ordinance 2026-02, change to ordinance 817, peer legislation.
Mr. Jason.
Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, this is identical to the substance to the, ordinance I entered a couple months ago around peer registration fees. It was requested that I provide a little bit more of what I will describe as legislative history, in the whereas sections of the, ordinance, so that people looking at that ordinance by itself would be able to trace down, okay, what is the, logic and stated purpose, general background and purpose of the ordinance. The substance of the ordinance itself, the actual language change in the code is the same.
I move to approve ordinance 2026-2.
We have a motion for 2026-2. We have a second. We have a motion and a second, all in favor? So, we'll move on to ordinance 2026.
Wait, you do it,
He said aye.
He said aye. He said aye.
There's a sound lag there.
Aye.
No.
I thought you said opposed, and that's what you
Yes,
said.
you're right. So this has got two signatures.
I signed on that. Where am I sitting?
Ordinance one, number 13, ordinance 2026-3, continued right to farm.
Okay, so this goes back to the annexation of the RV park and the, particularly the Dowdy and Meyer farms that were, included in that annexation. They had requested, the right to continue some of their ag operations because they kind of went, I guess, town code. We had an initial, ordinance drafted up by Steve Unger and Day. Then, Mr. Meyer came back with a second request to be allowed to have an irrigation well placed on his property, to water his livestock, essentially, for the most part. And so, you have the original ordinance in front of you, and that language to the well has not been added yet. Steve Unger provided some language that he thought was maybe appropriate. To that, we're just basically, the council would need to decide what the size of a parcel in town would need to be to qualify for this ag exemption. The Meyer property itself is 3.5 acres approximately that we annexed in, so I threw out that perhaps 3 acres minimum was a good number, so that it'd be inclusive to any property in town and not just isolated to those 2 properties. So that was just kind of a recommendation from Mr. Unger.
They are 3.5.
Approximately.
I would go with the 3.5. I mean, not to remove.
Yeah, I'd have to dial it in. I can look real quick, see what their actual size is, so that I don't lose them by that.
That's 3.5 acres on Syracuse Lake.
No, it's not very.
Yeah, that's another look real quick.
If we go with the 3.5.
Yeah, whatever the amount of it, whatever the size of our lot is, let's just plug it right.
No, we have to add that language. It's not in there currently. You had the original one that would just allow them to continue their ag. That was one of Jip sent you a while back, but then he made that request after the fact. So we haven't added that language until I know that you guys are even interested in adding that. Yeah, I wasn't right now.
Well, you're not gonna pass anything tonight, anyway.
Correct.
So really, you don't need to stop and look that up. All, if they're telling you whatever the size of that lot is, that's fine. You look up the size of the lot, you'll have to the next meeting, and you have it covered.
Round down to the closest
That's just Livingston back.
I don't want my dog.
So, on that then,
Yes.
any other discussion? Number 14, resolution 2026-3 of the Esco County multi-hazard mitigation.
Yeah, so apparently every 5 years, we're required to, look at this and pass it, every community is. I had Jim and Mark look at this document so they can answer any questions you might have.
I'll move to approve. Resolution 2026-03.
We have a motion to approve resolution 2026-03. We have a second. We have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Can we go back to the room?
Aye.
Good point.
Okay.
About the farm, it shouldn't have to be zoned ag also. I don't think it says that in the order.
Okay.
It should have to be zoned ag already.
Well, does it though, because I don't think you can have one ag and one by zone, you can have it, correct that?
I can't remember off the top of my head, I apologize.
Okay, but,
I mean, this says continuation of, this part I think covers it right here, where it says continuation of agricultural operations. I don't have agricultural operations on my property, so I would assume that would keep me out.
yeah, maybe we get a little more clear about that. They're required to be already zoned ag.
Okay.
We're gonna move on to number 15, discussion regarding ordinance fees.
We've already discussed.
Well, so you guys passed the ordinance back in September of 25 with, some new fees that came out of the work session. But at passing, Larry made the addition that we would revisit the fees in the future. So I kind of just worked that a little bit here and there. I shared it with council a couple times, not really gotten a lot of feedback. If you guys are interested in reevaluating the fees that you passed last September or not. Larry had made the ask, so we looked back at these again, so that's why it's in front of you again.
And they did too. Yeah, I guess it's the point, is that we're gonna have fees, but it's gonna be at less than our cost. Right? So I mean, if an employee, like for example, you look at, like on this, are you looking at this, $28, is that the hourly wage of an employee? An average of an hourly wage. And now if you add insurance to that, or does that include insurance matching FICA? Is this fully loaded with what the cost of the employee is? Or is this just the hourly wage? So, I mean, if we have a court, if we charge $28 for something and it's costing us $52, why are we doing something that you're losing money on?
Well, remember we already changed the, NSF fee to the $80. We did change that already.
Okay, how about the clerk's office at $28 an hour?
I don't know what that means.
So I went through each department and just took the average of the hourly wages of employees that may or may not be involved in mitigating some sort of ordinance violation. So I think Nate and Larry both suggested that maybe we should cover the backside costs of their benefits and things as well, which would essentially double those numbers, more or less.
That's the cost of the town. Why should we do it at a loss?
Well, I think so. When the police officers make an arrest, we do not make money on that, and we should. We get $3 or something like that. So
These are permits and violations. This isn't something that's part of some job per se. This is an additional thing that the town is doing. And so, I mean, I think if we're gonna charge hourly like from the clerk's office, we ought to at least cover our costs, and we're not having somebody do it for below cost. You know, the same with the park. I think, you know, whatever the health insurance is, and matching FICA, whatever ought to be added to that. You know, these are additional things over and above the normal services that the town provides. You know, I mean, if they're running out, you know, $40 an hour for somebody reading, you know, running a weed eater, but their health insurance and FICA, and now we're paying cell phone bills and all that, what is the real cost of that person? Then we have to at least be charging that as an hourly rate. That's not what I think.
We'll get to it after we get the end overtime too.
It's even more.
I agree with Larry on this, you know, we gotta look at a fully burdened rate, and we shouldn't be half of what our true costs are on any of this stuff. Because then we're just providing a loss, which is not what we should do.
So wouldn't we just be changing the ones at the top?
Well,
Because we went through them.
well, it was an opinion, right? It was an opinion. It wasn't based on data. Nobody did the costing on it. It was, yeah, I think that's a good amount. That's a good amount. I mean, it was all opinion. It's not based on.
But some of this is part of a salary or cost that's already there, that if they weren't doing it, they wouldn't be doing anything. So, anyway, I mean, I think you can detail this to the nth degree, and
Yeah, but it ought to be closer. We're not gonna get the exact penny. People's wages change, tax rates change, all sorts of things, but I think it ought to be closer to what our cost is if we're gonna be charging by the hour.
I mean, it's roughly 30%, usually max for franchise and unemployment insurance and all that. Over the average wage, that's 30 plus the benefits, which I guess to your point, Paul, that can be argued and say, well, you're gonna get benefits anyway, so.
well, I mean, I think it's just, added that, I don't think we can ever come up with a specific number for what it is, and.
Well, we can get closer. I mean, these numbers are low. We can get a lot closer. I mean, what's health insurance cost per person? Divide that into, they all have health insurance. It's, there's real cost. Why are we doing it at all below cost?
Just a word of caution, these are not all punitive. Some of them are fees for services and things like that. Some people may take that as a double tax. They're already paying these employees to do a specific job for the community, and now you're expecting them to pay that employee cost to do a fee or permit.
That didn't mow their lawn, and they're running a weed eater, or they had to run a lawnmower. That's a property, property owners aren't paying for that.
I agree. They're like I say, some are punitive and some are not. So we have to be careful about which ones you're rating.
A weed eater, Ford tractor, why are we using Ford tractor on somebody's property? Backhoe, lawnmower, lease that, riding mower, dump truck. The people should be paying for that.
Right, and so all three has it as part of the fee that they have come up with, covering their costs. That's what those equipment costs are for. And so if they do go mitigate a property that needs help, call leads or whatever, then that is charged. They charge based on those figures. Then we put a lien on that property.
Yeah, they're charging based on hourly rate. They're not charging based upon the cost of the employees doing it. And that's what I think Nate and I are both saying. These things should be closer to what it costs the town, so we're not losing money or for mowing somebody's lawn.
I wanna butt in here. I don't understand. Policeman pulls you over and he finds you, pays a fine and so forth. That's what he's already been paid to do that.
That's on the
Why do
police
we
department.
why do we need to charge the poor guy that pulled over with more money? Because he paid his fine. So I don't understand why we need this on top of that.
We're not.
It could go on forever as far as figuring out.
No, that's not right, Bill. The police department already gets paid. This is their job. Public Works is mowing somebody's lawn for them because they're not mowing it. That's not their job. They're doing it to clean the town up because the property owner's not doing it. That's different. So, maybe the police is okay. But some of these things are not.
Well, when we mow somebody's yard, they're charged for it. That's a different thing than the policeman pulling somebody over.
Well,
I don't understand why we have to pay an additional fee on this when they've already got a salary and that's what they're paid for.
All you're doing is talking about the correct number to impose to compensate situations in which the town has to do restorative work as opposed to. Well, yeah,
I think that, if we're gonna charge for employee time, it should be the cost of the employee for that time. I don't know, Nate, what do you think?
I already said what I think, I agree.
I have looked it through, trying to decide, we're not talking about policy and stuff.
No. fee structure really isn't a concern that I personally have. We went through all that and decided that in that work session. Just so the hourly rate is adequate.
The clerk, or,
My big contention is that if you're making X dollars an hour, that's not what your full burden is to the town. There's other costs that are associated with the town for that employee, and those should be covered. For any work that they're doing over and above their job, there's something that they're not doing, which is why we have these numbers to begin with.
I think the clerk, the code enforcer, the general administrative fees.
The public works, they're doing.
Yeah, I think those get sent in, and I think that you go through and you make sure that the public works crew is adequately fully burdening their rate that they propose.
Most of the public works do not make $30 an hour.
Right, because they're using equipment and other things, I just wanna make sure it's fully burdened. You got the hourly rate plus the cost of the equipment, maintenance, all those things. Health insurance. If it is, it's fine. It's just some of these, to me, seem a little bit low.
What about on the second and third page?
Not worried about any of that.
No, okay.
Very general. I personally am not, do somebody else.
And the third,
Going through those, I added that audience that day.
So
What do we, these are recommended fees and fines, so what are we talking about tonight? They're recommended.
we're just in discussion. So,
Well, don't we, then, does some committee have to come up and say, okay, this is gonna be $100, this is gonna be $150?
Even Virginia can get together and talk this out. Virginia has the information, they have to do the job. The two of them together, to figure out, what's the health insurance cost on average per employee in the clerk's office per hour? Add it, the 30% tax, add it.
what about the bad check fees on garage sales?
We want to do all that.
So just this,
Yeah.
okay. I'll find it.
Okay.
Okay. There you go. Discussion regarding capital project funding.
Okay, going down this road again. We were kind of at the point where, make some sort of, council has to make some sort of decision. As far as like the boardwalk, et cetera, the CAP committee has to have a commitment by June. So, we're kind of back to where we were. We definitely need to make some sort of decision, no later than April, on what you're willing to do or not do. We did get revised figures back, for the boardwalk. I hear those with you. They basically went from 1.5 million down to just under 1 million, for the cost of building the boardwalk. So, I'm by myself here, hold on.
And the under 1 million is after the matching funds or the grant?
Yeah, no, that's the total cost for the building.
So our cost would be,
Correct. Sorry, my stuff's on there, and I can't do it.
oh, I know we did for that.
Yeah.
Dave, when you first asked about doing this, you said you'd pay for it all with grant. And then you fell short of the grant. Even at $1 million, what does the town have to top up if we're gonna do this boardwalk? Because the other part of it is, the other part of it is that, the design did not have the appropriate crosswalk, flashing lights and all those things on it for the building. And so there's gonna be additional costs to it. Those crosswalks need to look like school crossings, every one of them. And that's not part of the design yet. But for it to be safe, that has to be there. But that $1 million, what's our match at that point?
So we went from about 800,000 down to about 300,000, approximately, would be our burden.
That's how we have to come up with $300,000.
Correct.
Then our backup plan is the park has some ideas that they could do.
Correct.
Yeah. So, if we do the park project, what's the town have to commit?
Well, our projected cost is $316,000 for the 6 projects.
So So it's 157,500 would be the down in that.
But we have some committed funds for some of those already. So like one of the projects is the potential pavilion at Loveland Park. The Rotary has some money set aside for that. We have some money in the Park Foundation account for Schrock Field for some development. And some of the projects that will be done there, they could be matched maybe from the Park Foundation. So, I mean, tomorrow, I could probably have $50,000 $60,000 committed to these projects to reduce what the town's burden would be. We haven't did those because these are low priorities on the park list, and currently it's a big project, you know.
But after you're done fundraising, places you think you can get money.
But I mean, there are generous people in town who maybe want to fund some of these as well, as our match, if we get the cap.
So the town part might be 50?
50?
Charge. Maybe not, depending on what the people you talk to.
Right.
And you guys are ready to pull the trigger on this, we're not, I'm trying to figure out the design.
Some of these are, we've got quotes done, we could sign contracts.
I mean, maybe we should transition to that, spend a little bit more time figuring out this trail thing.
How's that is an on-hold thing based on the community grant dollars being available. They've not been approved for that.
Correct.
We decide, hey, we don't wanna do this, thanks for the grant, but we're not gonna do it. There's no guarantee that they get the funding, right?
There's no guarantee.
Wanna be clear on that.
How do we find out?
So I've submitted a letter of interest for intent to the committee on behalf of the Parks Department, and they paused it. Just saying, you've already got one grant approved, we're not gonna consider this one at this time. So they said if we withdrew that one, then they would revisit the letter of intent and decide whether they wanted to do the full application and take that to the committee. So, again, no guarantee. If we turn down one, I don't know what draft that would be. I have no idea.
Because do we have the engineering, the state's recommendation was to move to the west side of the road, close down the non-main intersection?
Yeah, no, I mean, I shared the update with you, with what they proposed. They removed some of the higher dollar things like landscaping, lighting, that kind of thing.
Still on these sides.
Correct. Everything, that's what they changed, just trying to bring some costs down.
They didn't have the crossing lights and everything.
Correct.
Well, I'm in favor of using the funds. I think we've gotta do something to make 13 more appealing, visually and safer for walking, riding, whatever, because we don't have a real good centralized parking on it. It's just not very well laid out for people to do anything but drive a car around town. So I'm in favor of that. I think that there's some work that can be done on the engineering side. Kinda like what Larry's saying, but in addition, just to better utilize it, I'm still convinced that there might be better ways to do it that would reduce maintenance long term. But I'm not in favor of not taking advantage of the grant.
Train power, brain power, B.
Watching Jeopardy.
Real fortune.
It's over.
David, for the discussion of capital projects, is there more than just boardwalk?
That's the one that needs an answer. The rest of them, like, redoing the stoplight and, some of the other projects, the gateway signs, I know they were talking with the developer on that. So those are not time critical at all. Like say you guys, approved the $6 million last year. We're just trying to figure out what to spend on all of that, correct? So there's no rapid timeline on the rest of them. Just the grant one is, the clock is ticking rapidly on that one.
So next month, we have to make a decision.
I would ask you if you would make a definite decision by next month's meeting for sure.
Any other discussion on the capital project? You know, or do you make decisions this month?
We're gonna cover the cost override.
There's no cost overrun ever, so, I mean, that's your, you know, that's where you just do your due diligence as best you can, and cover. They build contingencies into their, you know, into their pricing, hopefully that's enough. There you are. It's just an idea, it's not, I'm not married to it, so, you know, it's your guys' decision to make, so.
Get us what you can get it.
I've given you all the information I can possibly give you, you know, it's up to you guys to make a decision now. If you wanna, you know, cancel this one, I'm fine, but, you know, I say there's no guarantee that they will not look, you know, finally on that when they reconsider the park, you know, ask, so. I don't know what their thought process might be.
And the grant is how much?
Currently, 500,000. And then we also get, like say, we have a kind of a link and a nod from the Ready people that they would match 20% of the cost of the project. So that would be the other grant that's available.
But we're still at 300,000.
If it stays at if you take it down to 1 million, it's less than that, it's 20%. It'd be a couple hundred thousand.
Or if you take the 1 million less.
If you take it down to 1 million, then Ready cost covers 20% of the construction cost, and it becomes 200,000.
I wish we were looking at a better paper design on that boardwalk.
Well, like I say, you know, the original was just a conceptual engineering design, they didn't get drilled down completely, they gave like 5 to 6 different options of what you wanted it to look like, and they kind of went with that one on the pricing, and then, you know, if there's things that are found out down the road that change what it looks like or how it's built, that's what they did when they lowered the cost, they changed some of what it looks like and what it's built of, so.
Do you want them to come?
Yeah, they're happy to come and answer any questions, I mean, they would come.
Might be work out a special meeting, sit down with them between now and then, to give them those types of questions that they're not answering.
Not the grant, or
down
here.
here.
Down to the end of the boardwalk.
I mean, your idea earlier, moving it to these sides, closing out some of those random.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's opposed to closing down the mid-block turn. They are a kind of hazard. That would mitigate a lot of the crossing problems. I don't think anybody's opposed to that I've ever talked to. So.
For that concern about it, I think we should probably have a meeting discussing that with them, rather than see us during the day sometime review for it. Not to break it.
You give us like 3 days.
That's good.
Yeah, let's bring it in there. Thank you. We'll get it figured out. Commonwealth?
I will save your time and just give it a punchline. A truck loan, Larry, I apologize, I gave you the wrong number. This was printed off before we made that date. The ask for SRF, we gotta resubmit this application. That would be $4,910,000. So I gave you a better number, so if I went the other direction, I'd have to forward.
Yeah, what was your question, Larry?
How much the loan's gonna be with SRF?
The payment?
Yeah.
I was trying to get to where currently cover the payment.
So, we're approaching a final design point, but hopefully by April 1st, you have to just resubmit your application to SRF to be in the hopper to get funding once their fiscal year starts July 1. So, just need approval for Cindy to sign this SRF application to submit to SRF.
Make that motion.
Thanks.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
The next item.
Oh, there we go. I'll take that.
The next item is regarding a topic I brought up, back in January about the, community crossing project with Ben Brown. After discussion with staff, they were not aware of any authorization to kind of run and do additional work, so, change order tonight is just to balance quantities, for what work was performed, and that was authorized by staff. Again, there was some side streets, some additional pavement work that asked that be done as part of the project.
Which project?
This is a community crossing project, Senate Brown was the contractor. Work's already done.
Yeah, where?
This one was Boston and, again, named streets.
Boston, the Boston area alleys,
Okay.
yeah, there's a 2025 savings.
Yep. So this is to help close everything out, to be able to pay them out and close everything with, NDOT. So the change order itself is $8,867.30. $8,867.30, which would bring the final contract value to $543,793.30. $543,793.30. They have a motion approved for that.
Need a motion for that.
Yes. And that would be signed, by you.
I'll make the motion for the $8,867.30 additional.
That's what you need?
Yep. That's the additional amount.
We have a, motion for the additional amount.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Unless you have any other questions, I will be quiet and get sent out.
Thank you. Jim? Oh, no, it's David. Sorry.
Okay, Main Street parking lot, you guys authorized to move forward on that. But I reached out, got a couple of proposals from engineering companies to be the engineer of record on this. One was from JPR, Jones, Petrie, Rapinski, and the other from Commonwealth. JPR's quote was for $123,750. Commonwealth was $144,000. I had Mark review these. He said they seem to be equal, essentially. So, obviously based on price, I'm not aware of any issues with either engineering firm.
Gentlemen, who designed the Pearl Street parking lot? They did it.
They did not, that was, AV engineering. Engineering. So, no, they were not involved in the design or the quoting of this one.
Were they involved in it at all?
In
The Pearl Street lot?
Yeah. The company that designed it, or did the work on the Pearl Street parking lot?
Well, somebody designed it. Is it the same company that did the work?
No, those are different companies.
Okay, did the company do the work, build it according to the design?
So there was an original spec design or speculative design that was done.
But who?
Who was that? I'm sorry, I apologize. There's so many companies running around my head. So that was, put me on the spot here.
But the Main Street parking lot is not using that company.
Yes. I intentionally did not buy that to the table. The company that did the final engine, there was the conceptual design and the final design was, that company was not invited to bid on the Main Street parking lot.
Either company?
Correct. No, the other company that did the conceptual design declined to participate.
Okay, so neither of the engineering company nor Pearl Street are involved with the Main Street.
Correct.
No, that's a good one.
I'm sorry.
I said that's good.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, yeah, JPR was not involved in either, Commonwealth was not involved in either, and the companies that were are not involved in Main Street. If that answers your question. Okay. So, obviously, the price difference, our recommendation is JPR, but again, if you're, no offense, Jeremy. But, so to move forward, we would need to hire this engineering company to, get the work. So JPR is $123,750 and Commonwealth is $144,000. And they would do the usual engineering, they would draw them up, they would do the bidding, securing, on-site engineering inspections and close it out.
So 267?
No, more.
Oh.
It just be the lowest one.
Oh.
Just needed to choose an engineering company.
I'm okay with your idea, Paula.
get more golf in.
No. You wouldn't use Commonwealth.
I can say, over 24 years, we've had a lot better results with Commonwealth. I mean, I don't want to sit here and just tell you all the problems we've had with JPR over the years, and I mean, they were faded out of town because of a lot of the problems. Mark, you weren't with the water plant when they flooded the filters because JPR was out permission to put larger valves in. It flooded the whole filter room. And then we had to pay for VFDs to be installed. I mean, they were the ones that designed the water going out to the tech park, and the pumps are barely enough to keep it pressurized the way it needs to.
We fixed that.
Yeah, but this was JPR's design, right? I mean, that's my point. I mean, a lot of things, I'm just saying, we've had a lot better luck with Commonwealth than we have had. I'm just not even say luck, I'm just going to say better results with Commonwealth.
Sounds like a motion.
That's my motion.
Okay. We have a
For how
motion.
much?
144. We have a motion on the floor to use Commonwealth.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye.
That's all you get.
I very much appreciate the comment. Appreciate that.
You know, the way it is.
Okay, Jim, now it's your turn.
No,
Oh, no, we're not done. Sorry. Keep going.
Okay, so I was asked to research, some digital or electronic council packets. So I looked into that, I've talked to other communities that use them, got a variety of answers. So I reached out to one company, Civic Plus, who does, work for a neighboring community. Theirs is very, in-depth, pretty overreaching, in my opinion, on all the, bells and whistles that come with their program service. It does include all kinds of like AI note-taking and AI memoranda and AI agendas and all these other things that are included with just getting digital access to you guys. Other community,
Is that volume turned up?
I can turn it down. He has to do it, but, so another community, just basically uses iPads and Dropbox, so it works fine for them. So I talked to, Mastermind Peter, about that, and he got me some numbers. So basically, if you went with the iPad Dropbox version, the total initial investment would be about $4,000, and then the annual recurring fee would be about $2,000 per year for the Dropbox.
I just hear you.
Community.
4,000.
So, yeah, $4,000 for the Dropboxes, and then it's about a $2,000 annual recurring fee for the subscription.
But everybody needs to have an iPad.
If we would buy everybody, an initial cost would be the whole 5 of you getting an iPad that you could use here,
We can't use our own.
you can, if you all are happy with your own laptop.
Got it.
I was just getting pricing if you didn't want to go that route.
Okay, so you've done the research, what's your recommendation, which way would
The iPad and Dropbox, so that way all the staff would have access to the Dropbox.
Yeah.
And we just upload documents as they became available, and you guys get access.
Well, let's just do this and get it done. Quit talking about it, you know?
We've been talking about it for a long time.
So just iPad, no iPad, just Dropbox, or?
Well,
what
maybe
motion?
get the iPads too, I mean,
Okay.
I don't want to learn something new, I've never used Apple in my life, but I'll learn it.
Very nice.
I haven't either.
Would you look at them like keyboard?
No, he just sent me, just some things, Doug did some research, and he just sent me his recommendation off of Amazon. So, they're basically, Apple iPad, 11-inch screen. I don't believe they have an external keypad, but we could look at that as well.
We have Android.
All that. Whatever you guys would be comfortable with.
How much are they?
You know,
4,000 with just the iPad.
is Will a fortune over?
I'm not, yeah, I mean, I think I'm in the right to be good at that. I'm not interested in using my personal computer for those records.
And so,
Same reason for you, so.
I was made about the keyboard.
Yes,
I wear trifocals and not all screens are in focus.
Right. So, yeah, make a motion, tell me what you want in the,
I don't even know how to tell you how to order an Apple anything. I've never used Apple anything.
I would just say iPad and or keyboard, if you want keyboards, however you want it to order.
The keyboard, I think I can figure out. The Apple is the question.
Alright, with keyboards then?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Is that a motion, Larry?
Yep.
You have a
My
motion
motion
for,
is do it.
I think, Bob,
I'll second.
okay, all in favor? Alright, thank you.
Not done.
Okay, keep going.
Alright, so, I meant to do this in December and I forgot, and then to January, January forgot, and then we didn't have February, so. Last year, council approved using $25,000 of edit funds for a facade grant. I just am asking that you, allow that again. We've had great success with the facade program. This year, we've already got one applicant that's for a $5,000 match. Last year we did, $12,000, almost $12,000 in grants, and in 24 we did 28,000 in grants. So I would just ask that we be allowed, the beautification committee be allowed to use $25,000 of the edit funds again.
Do we have that criteria for the, that we talked about, that, I mean, signs, for instance?
Yeah, so the original ordinance that you guys passed, basically just said that you were allowing a $5,000 match, and then, I was, in the ordinance, it says the town manager creates the applications and what's the content of the applications, and that's what was passed. That's what the beautification committee has been offering. So, you know, if you want to change it now, that's obviously your privy, but that's the way the ordinance read.
I mean, I'd like to see it be a little bit restrictive. I mean, policy out of spot, for example, I mean, if you have a bad car wash rate, you can't reach anybody. Sure, tell them you're right. That's great, but we're giving them free signs or whatever. I don't want to get, I mean, I want to be conscious of that and a new business. When you said you roll into town, doesn't mean that we should be putting bills for your sign. I'd be fine covering some of the costs that are permanent to the structure, but maybe not some of the costs that are, kind of dialed into a new business because a lot of new businesses fail. So those are kind of my thoughts on it. That's not based on anything that we've done in the past. I just think those are good practices going into the future.
Well, any business I've had that had a sign, it was part of my budget to buy a sign. I mean, if the town can buy it, we're gonna buy a sign, I'll give you $5,000. I mean, it's not too hard to give me free money, you know, I mean, does the town have to do that? No. I mean, as a matter of fact, no town ever has.
Want to change the ordinance or just?
I think we need to restrict it some, you know, I mean, if the car wash goes to some national company, they already have a budget for a sign, they're gonna put it in, whether we give them $5,000 or not. You know, so I mean, why? What's the purpose? What are we trying to achieve by giving money away?
We're achieving economic growth is what we're doing. We have granted $33,000 and community investment has been almost $300,000.
Which may have been anyway.
Maybe.
I mean,
maybe
they're
not.
gonna invest $300,000 and not have a sign.
I mean, the same, you argue that when we get a grant, we've got the money, why do we need a grant? I can make the same argument in reverse.
Not really.
We do have the money to do all these projects in cash.
But we've been
we
down
need grants to help them and help us.
18, whatever, and we're not going anywhere, so.
So I mean, so why don't we give everybody a $50,000 grant then?
Because we only give them $5,000.
Yeah, so I mean.
There's a lot of communities that have facade grants, so it's not something we invented. I did not invent this. I use them in Whitley. There's a lot of communities that have facade
I
grants.
mean, you know, some of them, we're gonna have signs anyway, you know what I mean? They walk in and say, hey, I'll give you $5,000.
I think there are probably situations like, I think Cindy said, you know, certain places might, it might be a real improvement because the sign was so old.
Yeah, right, so I mean, I'm not opposed to that.
I'm not opposed to the sign thing.
No, I'm not opposed to it. You know, about but I mean, I think we've given grants to places that are gonna do it anyway.
David,
It wasn't that we improved the town by doing it.
I'm curious, is the perceived stability of the company one of the criteria the committee looked at on the campaign time?
So a couple of them have been startups,
Yeah.
so, you know, there's obviously no way to quantify that.
Yeah.
So usually a lot of the applicants have been well-established companies that have been here for quite some time.
I mean, if KFC's coming into town, do we get $5 grand per sign, or just they come into town to buy signs? I think it just needs to be.
If you're just asking to remove signs from the application, that's not it.
I just think it needs to be more restricted, than just anybody that wants a sign.
I mean, we don't allow internal changes, we don't allow route changes. So, I mean, if you want to remove signs, that's no issue to me.
What do you mean?
I mean, I don't care, you know, if you want signs removed from the application, I can remove them from the application. If that's your ask. But just, you know, the side grants themselves are very valuable.
I agree. I mean, it's fine in general.
I'm just not, like, for me, for example, if you build a sign on your building and it's not, I'm fine covering the portion of it that is for the underlying structure, but not covering the portion that, I mean, not granting them the full tilt for their branding and everything else that goes on that, if they're out in another year, they all come back for another facade grant, which that structure's paid for, and the business owner can be responsible for putting their brand on the rest of it. That's just kind of how I look at it. That's use the funds long-term so that we've got money for other people that need it, that makes the money to get accepted. And it could be $5 grand. If you have 28,000 in 1 year, and it catches on, all of a sudden we're overrunning, and we're back to the well asking for more money for whatever. I think the intent is to be stuff that is going to be an improvement long-term, not just a way for a new business to come.
You need a motion for the 25,000?
I think so.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion to continue with the facade grant for $25,000.
Well,
Any other second?
I'll make that motion, or I'll second that, but I do want caveats to be are a little bit more restrictive. Right.
Okay, we have a motion that I will continue. Okay, we'll continue with facade grant.
Aye.
With copy. Yes, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Almost 9 o'clock.
I know,
Okay,
I'm trying to get there.
Yeah,
Hopefully the last will go pretty fast. 250th celebration is moving forward. I kind of broke this with you guys in January. There's kind of a subcommittee of the beautification committee to the meeting, different players from around the community, and the events that they're gonna hold in and around the 4th of July. The beautification committee has kind of, like I suggested, has asked about closing Main Street from the stoplight east towards the community center for Sunday, the Sunday before the 4th, where we're doing some community events from like 10 to 4. We're just gonna have some community offerings, food and games and things like that, and a car show potentially. So we're just asking that you give approval to close the street for, whatever date that is, 27th and 28th from, we'll probably want to close it before then. So like just basically from like 8 in the morning till about 4 in the afternoon.
I thought it was done in minutes already.
Yeah.
Really?
I don't think you approved it. I think we just discussed it. I could be wrong.
So what do you think?
Main Street from basically the stoplight east to the community center. Down the hill and around the curve. Just for a few hours to allow for a community party, essentially.
Yeah, so basically we're closing down the beach in the community center.
No, those will be open. You'll be able to get to them from the north.
From your side. You still have to park on that. They're not close like Washington Street.
So Main Street, the long.
To the long, yeah. But you can still come, like, you can still access the community center from stand and stuff.
It does, yeah. Okay. I don't remember, but it's very voted. Okay.
I don't know if
I remember discussing it, I didn't remember again voted for it.
in the January 20th minutes. I just don't think it's, the council is okay with shutting down Main Street.
Okay. Take it back.
Yeah.
All right, one last quick one. Pearl Street parking lot settlement, had problems with the turning radiuses, et cetera, we had to do some rework. The company came back with, their, recommendations of how to fix it. Who's the engineer? They came back with a recommendation how to fix it, and we thought it was a little limited. They were like doing the absolute bare minimum, and we didn't agree that was gonna be enough. So we brought a change order back to you guys that you approved back last, July. And so that work was done, by the construction company, and then sort of went back to the engineering company about cost sharing. They're willing to cover the amount that they said was necessary to fix the problem that they created. So the amount you approved was about $65,000, they're offering to pay $8,400.
How much?
$8,400. But that was the engineering that they came up with to fix the problem that they created. It was very minimal, it was just cutting little curves back here and there. That's their last final offer from the owners. So.
We're talking about $57,000.
Yeah, I mean, we extended it a lot. We said, well, no, it needs to be more like this and this and this, to make sure that there's no more issues and get rid of all the issues.
It's still very tight getting in and out of there with all of our changes.
I've not heard of any complaints since we fixed it, so.
It's not since the rework. Well, before you were on the curb getting in and out either direction. Now you're not on the curb, but it's still, you gotta pay attention to where you are so you don't hit the curb. I mean, look at the curb, it's got black all over it entirely.
Oh, every time I can get away from it, I can.
Yeah.
You know, you can only do so much for the year, but so anyway, that's their last final offer, so we can accept it or we can take a litigation, that's fairly up to you guys.
I have not been involved in the negotiations, so I can't really.
This is just a conversation between me and them so far, I haven't taken it any further.
We have to, well, there's the long and short of it is they did design work that was inadequate for what the result was. So what would you recommend we do in that manner? I mean, take their offer, it's not worth worrying about, or pursue it?
Well, again, I can't answer that because I don't have any way to analyze the chances of winning. Now, the cost, if you're talking about civil litigation or something like that, you may be spending $15,000. Okay, and so while at first blush, the 8,400 proposal seems a little light, you're probably not going to assume they're going to give you 40,000 either in this area.
What's your recommendation, David?
There's part of me that wants to say, they owe us more than that, because we had to do a lot of extra work because of what they did wrong. We're not completely innocent in all this. We missed some things that I think we should have caught in engineering stages. But we were trusting their drawings, and we even actually, when they brought us their initial drawings to us, we had them push them back a little bit because it looked too tight. We just didn't have them push them back far enough. Sometimes things on paper look different than in reality, and so once it's built, it's a little different. So like, we're not completely innocent of missing some things, but I was hoping for 50-50, but they're not gonna go there voluntarily. So.
My point was, this is still tight now, I can't imagine whatever solution they have working.
Yeah, it would not, but that's why we said no, that's not gonna work. But that was their offer.
So who are we
Do we have Jeremy go take a look and say what really had to be done between what we did and what they proposed?
I mean, Mark and I and Paul, with their experience, they walked things around with Jeff Beer, Jeff Beer, and he agreed with what we were asking. We kind of stepped it off in the parking lot, what we thought was more appropriate, and that's kind of where we landed with the drawings that were created and brought back to you.
So is there a change order for 58,000?
I'm sorry?
More or less? I mean, are we paying to them?
Well, we already paid the bill. I mean, this was Beer, this is just, the project closed.
What they'll give us?
That's what they would refund us essentially.
Well, here's what I'd like to propose. I'd like to propose that we get your heads together and advise us on what we should do. Because,
costing the town a lot of money for something that we wanted to do for beautification reasons and functionality reasons, and it didn't work. And somebody's responsible for it. If we've got culpabilities, and so be it. But yeah, I'd like to know what our chances of success are. And I assume Jay, you've been doing municipal law for a while. You should be able to, with the right information, say that's worth pursuing or not.
Yeah, and if you would like me to meet with David and perhaps, provide them with a different proposal in writing to see if we can get more money, and that's coming from an attorney, maybe that would be of some benefit.
Well, and maybe if we have another engineering opinion, you know, saying, hey, what they proposed, this wasn't gonna work anyhow.
Okay, turn it over to me and David to talk about, so.
I was just thinking money for them, I don't know, but.
That's what we will do.
Yeah. Well, I got, so,
It's gonna be a lose-lose situation.
Yes.
I mean, there's
Did we learn something?
on your report that I need to comment on, so the gateway sign, I talked to the sign work, and the big cost driver on that sign is a base, meaning the stone base. So if we were not interested, like on the south side of town, for utilizing that stone base, then the cost is significantly less. If you were to do a similar sign on the north side of town and construct the stone base, that's a huge cost driver. So, I think it kind of boils down to what we want to do. There's some value engineering type aspects that they can do to it. The designer's gonna work on some of those next week and get back with us. But that base is more expensive than the rest of the sign in general. So we have a base, if we wanna make that sign down there nicer and bigger and more, profound, it's like $35,000. But to do a base is like $75,000 on top of it or whatever. So, but just,
But we have a base.
we have a base on the south side that can utilize.
What options are there on the north side?
Construct a base and build a sign, or completely redesign the sign and do something cheaper, but they're gonna offer some value engineering options to bring the cost down on the structure. It's 16 feet tall on the top. I have no idea, do you know, Mark, how big the sign is at the industrial park from the ground to the top, and probably 25.
Probably.
So you bring that back to us.
Yeah, when they give me those figures, I'll bring it back next month.
Well, you can always apply for a beautification grant, you get $5,000.
Yeah, well, I had, your report.
David, do you have anything else? Jim, are you awake back there?
I'm awake.
Okay.
Do you have any questions on my report? Other than that, we picked up our 2 new vehicles today, dropped them off at the outfitter. And other than that, that's all I have. No ADA complaints last 2 months.
Thank you.
Good morning. First thing, on behalf of the tree board, Syracuse was awarded their 25th Pizza USA for the year 2025. So just congratulations on that. What's that?
Congratulations.
It's a lot of Mark's crew's work, so I just, oversee meetings and turn in the application. So I guess that's good. Parks related, Easter egg hunts are coming up next weekend, 28th, 10, 10:30, and 11. The little guys are 10, and we have a 4 to 7 group at 10:30, and then older than 7 at 11. All those will be at Lakeside Park, except if it's nasty, like the last couple weekends, or like today. We do them inside in the gym at that point, and we can get them done. Other than that, we're getting ready for the summer season. We have 2 softball tournaments scheduled for April already, and 8 through the whole season, so we've added a couple since last time I think I talked to you guys. So we have a tournament on and off through the first week in August, and then football gets so, busy there. We currently have 1 application for lifeguard, 1 application. stuff has been sent to the majority of the local schools in regards to, hey, if you got somebody taking a class you're interested, let us know. How many, well, we've had 4 to run a cruise. We do 3 days, 3 on at one time, that gives somebody an opportunity to be gone for whatever reason. Any questions for parks in general?
Thank you.
Yep.
Art?
Are there any questions on the report?
I have a question. So in the February report, you noted the operation were made aware of a water study from Commonwealth dated 1/20/26. Says the study was not requested by operations. Who requested the report?
I do not know.
Jeremy, do you know?
So I had a phone call with Larry, and then I reached out to, Mark for information to be able to provide insight on your available capacity.
Jeremy gave me most of the information on the phone, and so check with Mark. In the January meeting, Dave asked for a memorandum. So Jeremy provided that memorandum today. That's the story I got.
Doesn't that normally come to council for approval?
For on-call activities, it could be David asking for something that's engineering related, it could be Mark asking for something engineering related. As long as everybody's in unison of doing it, then that's what the on-call is for, that we utilize.
We have a service room down to do both mechanics, we don't know, all with those attorneys and.
So we operate with, we have a set budget for a year, and if all of a sudden there's a bunch of different knick-knack things going on, then if we approach that budget, I would come back and we need to re-up, and over the years that's come down, as mentioned before, Mark's been able to do a lot of things himself, and I had to lean on me too much.
I think in the future, we should designate, if it's not already understood, that either the president and the town manager deals with these kind of things, and I would think that we would need to go through the town council if we're gonna, I assume there was a cost to this, I don't.
Through our own call.
Yep. And it should be done with either council approval or at least with the council designating date to do it.
Jeremy brought it up on the screen, I was talking on the phone, probably ended the conversation, maybe what I needed, so we couldn't talk to Mark about it. To verify the numbers, because they haven't been done so long. And then Jeremy said that in the January meeting, Dave asked him for a memorandum. Now, I asked for, I got the information on the phone from Jeremy, I did not get this report until late this afternoon, first time I ever saw it.
Well, I'm just saying that if we contact our professionals, I'm sure we're getting billed on an hourly basis. And that means that Larry could ask a question, and Cindy could ask a question, and I could ask a question, and we just mount the fees. And I think it should probably be from one source just to keep our costs. I hate to use the word minimum, but
we've always been able to just call our resources and talk to them.
That could be a good thing to day-to-day operation. David, if somebody's asked me, if Mark asked me, I'm going, hey, David, Mark asked me this. You can kind of.
We really have to be careful with that, because attorneys, for example, whatever, hundreds of dollars an hour for us to just independently call them up. We should probably be asking Dave, and if he doesn't know the answer, have him call them or whatever. We're gonna have 5 of us council members, it's $500 an hour, having a hell of a big bill, so I'm just saying.
So I got 2 questions then.
So wait,
If I may.
Go ahead.
All the information contained in Jeremy's report, very well done report, came from me. So we put take the money and come to me, and if I can't answer it, it's right there. my number.
Yeah, I think that's fair. My question is on-call to me, in my mind, is like some sort of emergency type situation. Is that what that's for?
No, it's for helping out with any engineering matters, so if he has a IDEM issue that he needs our assistance with advising, if there's a street
Should you
issue.
call more on demand than on call? I mean, is that more?
Right, so
A person, I mean, does that make more sense?
yeah, some small activities where instead of going out and here's a $500 task order, we have a budget to carry out miscellaneous tasks, to support all staff, council, the town in general with engineering tasks. So we've done IDEM response letters, we've helped just come up with quick calcs of buying pumps for pump stations, so quick engineering analysis. Hey, I just need to know what the flow head rate, what do I need to tell these guys, review the submittal for them. Just these very, very small items over the years where over time it adds up. That's all like I said, I mean, it adds up. It's just we have a budget to work under, so then Virginia knows what the budget for the year of what's professional services, you know, what do we use for the year. So we budget, in the past it was 20,000 a year, now it's 10,000 a year. So it's just, it's an as needed, hey, I have this question, how do I go through it? It takes an analysis. It's not just, I can answer on the spot, I have to do some due diligence.
So Jay, in the standard practice for municipality, how does that work for professional services? I mean, I know Cindy has spoken in the past about the school system and how they do things. How do other municipalities that you represent work for professional services and chain of command or contact or point person?
Well, keeping me separate from that, so I'm not talking about my professional services for a second. Typically, if you've got somebody who provides on demand, that may be information for any council member. Now, municipalities have had to restrict that in situations where people have been abusive of it. Meaning somebody actually has made, and I'm just gonna make up numbers, somebody during a year has taken advantage of that 38 times and made 38 charges. If it is something that is, in this case, you've got a council member making 2 calls during the year, probably the municipality has not worried too much about shepherding and getting permission of that through one person, because the information that any individual council member may get in a professional service situation like that can be shared very easily with everybody, and therefore is presumably of some benefit to everybody. And so if you've got a report like this one, you know, that's a report that you're gonna wanna circulate to everybody. Because if you are truly concerned about 3 different council members calling and asking the same question, that procedure cuts that off.
I think it's a valid concern. I mean, going into the future, we'll have appropriate safeguards in place so that we're not being redundant. Because you could, I mean, if you didn't have a council that was very friendly, everybody could say, I don't believe the 4 of you, I'm gonna call you out information, and then they are given the same answer 4 times. Just to appease somebody that, for whatever reason, doesn't believe that they're peers.
Yeah. Now, like I said, my situation too, because, you know, as an attorney, we charge you a flat rate.
Right.
And so everybody on this council has called me up individually and asked questions, and I would still continue to answer those questions.
That was my only question of yours.
Anything else? I do have one request, so I'll stand. We have consolidated our generators, all generators in town. We brought them into the wastewater umbrella. So, rather than David having town hall generator serviced by one company, or water, sewer, they were separate companies, they didn't work together. So we pulled all that together under one umbrella, and we have been using Cummins Sales and Service for the majority of those. They've done excellent work, but they will service all 12 generators in town, soon to be 13. I typically sign a 5-year contract, and it takes us about 20% over each individual to do that. So I would ask council for a 5-year $36,216.20 contract with Cummins Sales and Service to service Water Street, sewer, and town hall building.
Make that motion.
We have a motion to use Cummins for $36,216. We have a second. We have a motion and a second, all in favor, aye. Opposed?
And that's all I have.
I will point out though that, we did surpass 200 tons of salt. But we still have a supply and more on order, and we're in good shape.
The winter's not over.
We are glad it's finally March.
Ben? Or Chief?
Try to be quick. Any questions on my report? Got one quote in front of you guys for equipment replacement, 20 pairs of structural firefighting gloves, to replace old stock and, stuff that we've had to, discontinue due to use. Hoosier Fire Equipment, $1,990, including shipping, to be delivered by April 13th, if I can get approval for that.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion and a second for the gloves for the fire. All in favor? April
13th.
Yeah, for 19.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Virginia.
Not a chance.
Do we have any public comments from the floor on non-agenda items? Minutes.
I just wanted to formally say thank you guys for taking the first step towards what we're doing. I just also wanted to formally thank a couple of the people who I invited here tonight. Ryan from Hollywood, thanks so much for coming. Brent from the Chamber, and Don and Frank from Fenco, thank you guys for being a part of this. I know that it's a very long meeting, and we're all always
We're
like
not
that.
usually.
But I do want to say, and I also wanted to address Larry and the others who do have this some of the concerns, and I appreciate all of those concerns, and I really, truly look forward to working through a lot of those, and I appreciate the fact that we can now sit at the table and have those discussions because of taking that first step. So thank you.
I'll just add comment to that. I'm here in support of any housing that Syracuse can do. A growing community is a thriving community, a not growing community is a dying community. We all know our school system here continues to decline enrollment, and without any housing development, that can continue to decline. And we're going to go down as a community if we don't address the housing situation. Hollywood, we're landlocked. Sure, there's talk about it getting more land, but unless we have the opportunity to bring in more people, we're kind of tapped out on talent at this point. So if we can't grow this community, we're going to struggle to grow our company here, and we'll have to look out there. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Discussion from the council, any old business?
Yeah, I've got one. So, in the past, we had had a conversation about meeting times, and I think at this juncture, at 9:20 on a Tuesday night, it's well worth having a conversation again about changing the meeting time. Some of the pushback, which really wasn't from that many people, was, well, not everybody can come, well, not everybody can stay till 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock to do business either. So, I would make a proposal to look at a time that might be a midpoint between what was proposed before and where we're at today. I was looking at maybe like 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. as a council meeting time rather than 7 p.m. I think that would be, that way people aren't trying to rush out of here when we still have business to do. And I think we're not doing our jobs if we're not putting in the time and the resources that are required to do the work of the council. and in a hurry to get out. So I think if we could meet at a more amenable time, that might have some value. I'd suggest 4 or 5 o'clock.
I would support that. Probably 5 or 6, at least moving it back. Yeah.
So is that something you would put on the agenda for next time? Before we.
Vote it now, or you
Oh,
can.
yeah.
I would hope you're putting it in for next time, because I have to make arrangements if you're gonna move the time, particular time, I have to know, because I've got a town meeting at 5:30.
Okay.
And
So let's put it on the agenda.
We could put you on Zoom.
Yeah. I can't be Zooming and present in 2 places
Yeah.
at the same time, so, no.
Okay. Any other old business? Any new business?
Yeah, I've got something on new business as well. I shared with the council just some of my concerns with the NISCO rates that we've seen over this winter, and kind of feel like we should do everything that we can to address those for the people in our community that have been impacted, which is any NISCO user. I know that we expected the rates to go up, because they had approval, but I think that the amount that the rates actually went up maybe was kind of under that approval umbrella, that some of the fees and delivery charges that were associated with it were over the top. I've been working with some other people trying to get to the IURC and see if we can't be a part of the roadshow that they're gonna do, some concerns of NISCO rates. And I'm hoping in the next day or so to have some clarity on that and get them here to hear from our community and our concerns, and learn more about that process and see what can be done to mitigate this in the future, if not retroactively.
Who's the process?
IURC, Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission.
Okay. How about just getting on our EMC?
Protected territory, I have that option, so. There should be, I'll know more here in the coming days, but they are having on their website, you can get on there and they'll have a live feed for, a meeting they're having with the 5, utility companies in the state of Indiana on the 24th, if anybody wants to see that. It's not a open door meeting per se, where they're taking input from the public, but if we're able to get them here for a meeting, it would be more public facing. So, to watch that in redemption of a potential future meeting if we can get phase 1 of it. Sounds like a plan. Good plan.
Anyone else for new business? I just would like to thank everyone for hanging in there.
Staying awake.
I'm ready for a adjournment.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Second. All in favor?
I'm ready for it.
The 3 guys.